Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the No More No Knocks webinar presented by Black Lives Matter Louisville. We're going to get started here in a moment. We're happy for you to be here. Please drop in the chat where you are, drop in the comments where you're joining us from. I have some very powerful women on the call today. I'm excited about that. And we have a message from Diamonds Forward that we're going to play here in a few. In case this is your first time tuning in, we often do webinars related to police brutality, about all the different things we go through as Black women, but also just the ways that we're not able to take advantage of laws like stand your ground. For those of you who are not familiar with Diamonds Forward, she's a recent victim of the no-knock warrants down in Florida. While trying to protect her home for what she thought were intruders, she was attacked, she was kidnapped, and thankfully through our work and work of different activists in Florida, we were able to get her out. Her bail was set at over $500,000. And so we're happy that she's home, but she's not fully free. We want to make sure that we get them to drop the charges and we can move from there so she can just be with her daughter, be happy, be safe and free. I'm joined today by two really powerful organizers. One is Chanel Helm from Black Lives Matter Louisville, and the other is Danny from down in Florida. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll share the video with you all from Diamonds.
You on mute, Chanel.
I love being on mute. It's wonderful. Chanel with BLM Louisville, also with the Louisville Community Bail Fund, a community bail fund here in Kentucky. We also are part of National Bail Fund Network and National Bailout Network, Home to Mama's Bailout, and just overall ending money bail. That is how we got connected with this situation in this case. And Danielle, can you tell the rest?
Yes. My name's Danielle, and I am a prison abolitionist and organizer down here in Florida. I am an organizer with Dignity Power. I also work with an organization known as Florida Prisoner Solidarity, and I do some work around bail funds as well. I work with the 352 Freedom Fund to bail people out locally, as well as run a statewide bail fund to help protesters get released when we are trying to fight against the oppression. And that puts people in situations like Diamonds was in recently. And so that's kind of the work I did. And when I found out about Diamond's case, I said, I need to put together a team of the baddest organizers I know. And I did not know Chanel and Chanez before that, but I know them now because somebody else connected me to them. And we've been kicking ass and taking names ever since.
Yeah, thank you so much, Danny. I'm excited to have both of you on there. Again, if you're just joining us, this is Chanez from Black Lives Matter Louisville. We're here to talk a little bit about the No More No Knocks movement that's pushed really heavy here in Kentucky by Katora Heron, and just to show the different ways that these relate. We have our Breonna's Law we're trying to push here, but Florida actually passed a no-knock, actually banned no-knocks a while back, I think in the 90s. We'll get into that a little bit later, but as Black women, we're not allowed to stand our ground. So we're here, supporting Diamonds Forward, supporting all Black women who, have not been given the same rights as others. So we're going to share a quick video from Diamonds that she just recorded for us today. Chanel, if you can tap her video in and share, we're just really grateful that she was able to take the time to share this message.
My name is Diamonds Forward. I wanted to take the time out to thank these beautiful, powerful ladies. Dignity Power, Danielle, Trey, Tisha, Foxy, Miss Nubian. I love these ladies to death. They took the time out to believe in me. They took the time out to show me love and support in a horrible situation. I'm very highly thankful and blessed that God has put them in my path. They have raised this money to bring me home to my daughter, and I appreciate them so much. I just don't feel like thank you is enough, but ladies, I thank you very much for the time and the consideration that you guys have put into my situation. The fight is not over, and I pray that these ladies stand with me through this fight. I love them like they were my own sisters at this point. They are considered as family. I hate that I seen a post that stated that strangers just came up and just decided to buy me out. No, These aren't strangers. These are family. And what we have is a bond. But I want to thank them. I appreciate them. Thank you. I just does not feel like enough for me. I'm not going to cry. We're not going to do this today. I'm going to be joyful and rejoice in this moment. Ladies, I thank you. We appreciate you so much. And I cannot wait to see you guys again.
All right. Ooh, she gave me chills a little bit.
Yes.
Danny, do you want to speak a little bit to, what she has gone through, what you as an organizer have gone through and continue to go through as we sort of work to make sure that we're following through and not just ending it at her being out?
Absolutely. So one, I do want to just take an opportunity to also uplift the fact that, like, Diamonds is amazing. Like, that's like my sister. We talk every morning, every night. And she mentioned a lot of names who have been on this, but these are the faces she sees. And she hasn't seen a lot of the faces that have been behind the scenes. So I always want to just take an opportunity to uplift all the work that you, Chanez, and you, Chanel, have done in this, helping pump out graphics, like really leading the team, helping get us connected, getting us that money. Like, there was like a whole team behind this, that you're part of that family that Diamonds mentioned. So she just hasn't met y'all yet, but you're very much a part of that. But going into, the situation with Diamonds and whatnot, especially, one of the reasons it was so important for me to get connected with you all in Louisville is coming, when you look at Diamond's case, that's 6 months, literally almost to the day, coming off of what happened with Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker, and the similarities that are there, the same issues, these no-knock warrants, people shooting, coming into your home, arresting you, they're telling you have two choices. You can end up dead, or you can end up without your liberty. You could end up incarcerated. Right. There's no in between. And so that's just a really big issue. Another thing that I had shared with y'all yesterday is there was a report. So Diamonds was being held at the Duval County Jail. And I just happened to come across in the news yesterday that there was a report that 2 detention officers and 3 people who were incarcerated in the Duval County Jail have died since the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's what we also saved our sister from. We saved her from, she's free for now. But we're in the middle of this global health pandemic. As an abolitionist, I know y'all have been doing a lot of this work as well, but there has been constant calls to free people because of COVID. People inside a cell cannot social distance. A lot of these individuals did not have masks. They might still not have masks. They don't have proper sanitation, soap and everything like that. And so people are literally dying. People who are innocent in the eyes of the law because they are innocent until proven guilty, having this extrajudicial execution by COVID is what I would call it. And that's what we saved her from. And even though she's free now, though, like she said, the fight's not over because we got a long way to go with, charges dropped and then also addressing these larger policy issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say a few weeks, no, it was over Christmas break. We did a bailout for a Black woman, a Black mother who was in jail on Christmas. Without masks, without social distancing. The officers would not allow her to have a phone call or a mask or any type of PPE, protective equipment, right? So we had this all happening after she was assaulted by officers and felt up by a male officer. And so it's absolutely imperative that we don't just think about this as just Diamonds or just Breonna. This is about banning no-knock warrants and making sure that it actually is followed through. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about Florida already having banned no-knock. People ask, didn't Florida ban no-knock warrants? So the answer is kinda, right? Florida is one of the 2 states in the United States that prohibited the issuance of no-knock warrants. And this happened in 1994. It was a case, the Florida Supreme Court case of State versus Bamber, right? So it's supposed to be banned, except, right, the little asterisk on it is that police can still execute search warrants without knocking when certain conditions apply, and they have a lot of leeway. Like if they think that there is an imminent threat, it's like, Blackness is a threat. Blackness is a threat in itself to police, to white supremacists. So if in their mind they think the person on the other side of the door could be a threat, then they can just have a no-knock situation, right? And we know from research, I think the New York Times, PBS, a lot of places do the research and show that 64% of these no-knock raids looking for drugs don't find drugs at all in the home. And many of them might find drugs, but they're not the ones they were looking for, or it's, prescription. In some states, marijuana is legal, right? So even when they find drugs, oftentimes it's not what they were originally there for. We know in Breonna Taylor's case, they were looking for someone who didn't live there, who was actually already in custody. Similarly with Diamonds, they were looking for someone who was not in the home. And she really, it could have gone much worse. We know this, and I'm thankful that Diamonds, much like Kenneth Walker Jr., survived this ordeal. And Danny, can you speak a little bit to that since you're like on the ground in Florida?
Definitely, and I just wanted to speak to this idea too about when there's these like extenuating circumstances, because another one of the things that it says where like a no knock would be allowed, or a lot of the justification they use is like if there's reasonable belief that like evidence would be destroyed if you announce your presence. So like, oh, if you're gonna go flush drugs, that like is crazy to me. And then when you think, because I did a bad thing and started looking at the comments from the news about this, and people, well, there was drugs in the house. The Root reported on this issue with Diamonds after we had the press conference on Monday, and I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this, but the person on the Root said, y'all mean you went and executed this high-risk warrant over some fucking weed? Like, they sell weed everywhere. What are we doing? Like, I don't care. And the thing is that I will just say this. People, yes, they uncovered weed in the house, but I will just say this. If y'all measuring how much weed, illegal weed you uncovered in the house in grams and not ounces or pounds, y'all ain't uncover anything. Like, sorry, period. Like, I don't care. Y'all didn't say, man, they were moving pounds and pounds. It was get out of here. Y'all uncovered your measurements were in grams, and it's ridiculous that you can even get a high risk, because that's what they call it. I don't want to call it a no knock. It's a high risk search warrant because they might have been moving some weed around when you could go legally. Yeah, we don't have recreational weed, but you could go legally buy weed right up the road. They're selling medical marijuana in the state of Florida, and they're selling it legally all across the country. So I just wanted to point out how we're in 2021. What is going on? But in terms of like the fight too, with the case, like you said, Diamonds is a police shooting survivor. She had to retreat because they shot back at her. She could have ended up dead. When you listen to the 911 call, she's going, send someone, they're shooting. Like, I can't even imagine how traumatic that would be to think that you are going to die and you're calling the police, and then you find out it's the police trying to kill you, and then they arrest you. The lawyer made it really simple at the press conference. You don't shoot the police and knowingly shoot the police and then call the police to come help you.
Right.
So the fact that you think about where we're at, we're in Florida, we're in the South. Jacksonville has a very racist history. The fact that the judge said that she didn't hear enough compelling evidence that Diamonds did not shoot at the police intentionally, and that's why she didn't lower the bond after she listened to 911 recording. That's what we're up against. We're up against this system that doesn't give people the benefit of the doubt, that wants to look at people as guilty until proven innocent. And it's a wrongful implementation of the law, but it's the law that exists if your skin is melanated and you're a woman in this country.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit to Chanez about I know here we do bailouts all the time, right? And across the country, we're supporting other bailouts. But when we talk about ending cash bail, what does it mean? Like, what barriers exist because of cash bail? And can you talk about some of the actions we're taking to make sure that cash bail ends ultimately, along with the defund police work?
Yeah, I know because of recently, people have been getting a very much skewed look at like what is happening around bail funds or bail projects for that matter. And what we have is a very serious and historic issue. Bail funds have been around since the beginning of time, really. We talk about like what imperialism is and how within the court and legal system, they've always taken something from somebody, regardless if it's related to the persecution or not, right? So people have been tortured, they have been put to jail, and to get those bodies back, to pay that ransom, is to come up with either funds or a piece of property or anything else. And I think what's hilarious about right now and the bail movement is Robin Hood. If we haven't heard enough about Robin Hood and robbing the rich and eating them, um, tells the story of essentially robbing the so-called bail bondsmen who go and gather not only taxes from people. I think a lot of times we read those stories and they think, oh, these are the people that go gather the taxes, right? The big men, they always show them in the Disney movies, and they're at the carriage with the guy and they're counting money, and there's bags of money that they're carrying. Those are also bail bondsmen. They used to have the same job all back in the day. We're talking about hundreds of years ago. Current times, especially during Reconstruction, we've changed that person around to somebody who needs to pay somebody's bond because of somebody in jail. And the narrative is, oh, you're going to hurt somebody or you're going to complete the crime that you completed if you are out and if you are free. That is incorrect. What we do know is that there is more violence inside jails and prisons than there is outside, whether people have been convicted of a crime or not. Being charged with the crime is totally different than being convicted of that crime. The reason why people are being held in jail is because judges just have up to their ability whether or not they want to take on cases that day, or trials last for a long time. And then they give you these excuses. Well, nobody's signing up for jury duty. Who wants to sign up for jury duty? One, when the law is skewed, you're being asked, for pennies on a day. A lot of people have complained that you don't get paid as much as you would if you leave your job. So that is one of the major reasons why people don't do jury duty. It isn't that they don't want to. It's because it does take a lot of time away from you, your family, your home, and definitely your job. So then you won't be able to afford any of those. And we know that if you miss one day of work, it's the end for you. That's the same for people in jail. They are not like these extracurricular or extraordinary citizens. They're regular citizens. And if they're locked up for a speeding ticket, a bench warrant, or, even if we want to talk about murder, people always go to the extreme crimes. They are taken away from that atmosphere. There are all different other types of ways that we can adjudicate people besides removing them from our societies and doing nothing with them. That's the thing that we want to notate. Nobody is rehabilitated or supported or helped in jail. Jail doesn't do anything but sit you in a room with other people. And right now, like we've been exploring, the jails are dangerous. People are in jail, and so is COVID. And so people are in line for death rather than trial, just sitting in jail. Some people in there for 3 to 10 years. Our bail fund was created because there have been some unjust lengths of time of sitting in jail than not. And so our lawyers came to us and was like, there's got to be a tactic to use, because I've got a client who's in here for 3 years. I've got a client that's in here for 4 years. I've got a client that's in here. Bail disruption is one of the most effective ways to get folks, one, free, taking care of their communities, also being able to put them into supports where they can be not rehabilitated, but also, just finding ways to really be an asset to their community. I'll say it like that. There's a lot of language we don't have right here. And so we've been bailing out people since 2017, August, that first Black August for us, celebrating, bailing folks out. And what we know is people have a line of support once they meet their bailout community and bailout crew. They also are really in tune to what this work means and what it means for them. Here recently, now that we were fully funded, we've had several of our bailouts actually join our team. A lot of them do a lot of the work with us. A lot of them actually take care of the bailouts. And also, just sit down and people need a community that they can engage with, knowing that they have similar backgrounds and stuff. And so they're able to create community with each other. We also have a few of the mama bailouts. They're, struggling, but they're making do and they're making way, and just totally realizing that, you don't have to suffer. A lot of that suffering is mental health. A lot of that is physical health. We have a support plan that people get into, but we do this work because this system, a $700 billion system, is not at all really thinking about how much is going to take care of these families so that they don't commit crimes, so that no one gets murdered, so that no one has to leave their work to go to court or go to jail. for juvenile offenders, it costs $8,700 to house them for a year. They don't even live in households that make $8,700 for the most part, or sleep on a bed that costs that much. And here they are in detention centers, doing who knows what, coming out with no skills, and we're charged with that. That's how much we pay. So how much input do we have? With bailouts and community bail funds, we're able to have a lot more say, but they're also able to have a lot more say. And not only just our bailouts, everybody involved in the situations in the community are able to have those says, that say. What we know is interesting too is that the opposition, the court system, is really bothered by bailouts. They're the ones that set the bail. We're not the ones that set the bail. And so when those bailouts happen, they get frustrated. And I think we also need to examine like why they would be frustrated. I know a few people are upset we got diamonds out, but also like, you know, you get upset because people have to use state funding to take care of families in these situations. And it's all white supremacy at the end of the day. Another jab to them and to end money bail.
We have up now the demands for Diamonds Forward, but a lot of this relates to all of the victims of police brutality and state violence. So first is we need to end money bail or end cash bail. Second is to drop the charge of attempted murder of an officer. Remember, she didn't know that it was an officer because of the no-knock way that they went about it. She just thought someone was breaking into her home, fearing for her life. So the second is to drop the charge of attempted murder of an officer. She had no legal duty to retreat when she believed she was in danger of being harmed. Florida is a stand your ground state, right? 3 is to enact a statewide ban on no-knock warrants. And 4, again, we want it to not just be in paper. So when we talk about 4, hashtagging that no more no-knocks Florida, because we need this to be based on reality, not based on what is in a book, something from the 90s, right? We need Black women to actually be protected now in 2021 and beyond. And that's not the case right now. So we're asking y'all to push those demands. We'll post it again at the end. So let's talk a little bit about this lovely person here. For those of you who don't know, State Attorney Melissa Nelson has the power to drop all these charges. So what I want everybody to do right now, it doesn't take but a few seconds. Go on this person's Twitter, at SAO, the number 4 Florida. Go on their Twitter and tell them to drop the charges. Tell them what it means for Diamonds Forward to be home with her daughter instead of in a COVID-infested jail, right? Well, you can make calls, you can do emails, even if you're not on Twitter right now. Like seriously, stop what you're doing and go tweet at the state attorney, Melissa Nelson. It is going to take a lot of pressure for this to happen. Remember, as Danny said earlier, Diamonds is not all the way free. Yes, we were able to raise money to get her out. Yes, she's home right now, but that's not going to be the case for much longer if we don't continue to protect her and stand up for her. So again, we want you to tweet at the state attorney, Melissa Nelson, to say drop all the charges against Diamonds Forward. That Twitter again is at SAO, the number 4 Florida, SAO for Florida. Yeah, we can't say enough how much this sort of work means to individuals. Diamonds is a mother. Many of the people we bail out are parents or caregivers. And even if they're not, they are people who, as Chanel mentioned earlier, are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So we really need your support. If we can get a few hundred of these tweets out, it's going to make a difference. They pay attention when we put pressure on them. And so, Danny, I want to come back to you. What are some of the other ways that we can support Diamonds in this time, that we can also support your work on bailouts there in Florida and just your work on the ground organizing?
Thank you, Chanez. So a few things. One, just staying up to date on what we're doing, following the Facebook and the Instagram. So when we put these calls to action out, you're following with it. So like, yeah, tweet the state attorney, send her an email, phone call. Make sure this story gets out, because a little bit, I will admit, of what my fear is that people go, oh, this actually true story. So when we did the interview on Monday ahead of the press conference, the newscaster was like, oh, so like she's free, that's it. I was like, no, like she's got a whole charge that she has to feed. And the newscaster literally was like, oh, I thought like y'all got her out of jail and that was it. Like she's free forever. And that's like been my fear, that because we got her free, that, you know, people are like, oh, she's good. And she is good, but she's not good, right? Because she's still facing life in prison on this charge, which is crazy. Especially when you look at the fact Diamonds has no criminal history. So she ain't wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm going to kill the police today.
Right.
It just didn't happen. And then, you know, there is a GoFundMe up still. So please donate to the GoFundMe, because it's been a big adjustment. Diamonds has had to move out of the city of Jacksonville because we just don't feel like that's safe for her, you know, given her charge and what's going on, and also the support that she's getting. People are not happy about it, as was mentioned, you know, that we bailed her out. We paid a $500,000 bail. They look at her as somebody who tried to kill a cop, even though we know that that's not the narrative.
Right.
And then there's a change.org petition people can sign. That would be really helpful. And then, yeah, keeping the pressure up, like the constant pressure, like we said, tweet, share the story, share the post on Facebook, Instagram. And I will say from here on out, tomorrow is going to be the first day that I'm up in Jacksonville. Not the first time I've been in Jacksonville. I've been in Jacksonville. But every Friday in Jacksonville, I'm going to be there at the state attorney's office for a rally. We're going to do a rally every Friday demanding the charges are dropped. And we're going to continue to rally until the charges are dropped. So if you're feeling up to it, come join us in Florida. And I'll let y'all know when we plan a big action. We want people to mobilize from all across the country. You know, not to get into it, but, you know, when we're chanting, what do we want? Justice. When do we want it now? And if we don't get it, we're going to shut the shit down. So
yes, shut it down. Yes. I just want to uplift what Monica wrote. She's had to upend her entire life. Like, think about today in Louisville, for example, our mayor is pretty much trash. He didn't fix the street knowing that there was a snowstorm coming. So people who have to leave their home to go to work cannot work today. They cannot get there. Black market, for instance, the employees are not going to work and get paid because the streets were not prepped for the snow. So just think that one day of not working for people, how much that impacts your life. And for Diamonds, it is amplified way more than that. It's not just one day, it's also the reputation. Her name is everywhere, right? And so future employers, or if she's in school, those sorts of things, it impacts her life, it impacts her daughter. And so we can't stand for this. We need less people like Greg Fisher, and we need more people like Danny and Chanel in these positions to help folks. And as you see, like more than 90 people died in no-knock and quick knock raids in the U.S. in the span of 6 years, right? These are not people who are drug kingpins. They tried to make Breonna Taylor out to be some sort of drug kingpin, try to get her ex-boyfriend to lie on her. These are the sort of tactics they use in order to perpetuate state violence against Black people, people of color, Indigenous folks. So I'm you know, it's something that we're going to have to continue to deal with and to fight. And so I want to talk a little bit about Hospital 21 here in Kentucky and how all the things we talked about with Diamonds Ford relates to Breonna's law. We had a webinar a couple weeks ago with Katora Heron, who leads a lot of work here in Kentucky around the No More No Knocks movement. And so a place like Florida that has already had a ban on no knocks on the books for decades now has a situation with Diamonds Ford where the state basically violated her rights. So how can we avoid this same thing here in Kentucky? I mean, we still haven't even gotten the statewide ban passed, but what are some ways, Danny, you see us potentially preventing something like that from happening here in Kentucky?
Yeah, so this is, you know, I say also as an abolitionist and stuff, just going to drop a resource, but one of my favorite resources on abolition is a op-ed in the New York Times by Ruthie Gilmore Wilson. I might have mixed up the last name there, but it's called Is Prison Necessary? And one of the things he talks about is like when you have reforms, you oftentimes get, you know, like a workaround. You know, they're just going to figure out how to oppress you in a different way. We might stop them for a little bit, and then they're going to figure out a way around it. And that's kind of what I feel like happened in Florida. Like they're going, okay, no more no knocks. And they're like, oh, but like, let's make these exceptions for no knocks. And like, let's make sure we can get it here. So we got to be really strong in the way we tell people, like, we don't want to see these loopholes in the law. You know what, y'all,
Right.
you know, y'all are bringing this to legislation. Hey, we know this is in legislation, but these exceptions, we're not down with that, because look what happened down in Florida with diamonds. No, you have to knock. There's absolutely no situation where you can just enter a household. You have to knock. You have to, you know, having time frames, because another workaround the knock and announce issue is that people will go, they'll knock, police, and bust in the door 3 seconds later. That's not proper, you know, announcement. For me, you could say you said you were the police, but I might be so startled, I'm not even processing what happened. I might still try to shoot you. Like, you just busted my door. I didn't even process what you said. It happened so fast. But Absolutely. These are the workarounds in the law that we see. So we just gotta be vigilant and look at the ways where those loopholes can exist, and then just not stand for it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just read this out loud for folks, and then Chanel, I want you to jump in and talk about some of the sort of casualties of these no-knock raids. So 64% of no-knock raids found no drugs in the home, like no drugs at all, right? And a 2014 ACLU report showed that, you know, basically these drug searches are not even finding drugs. And even in the cases where they're finding drugs, like Danny mentioned earlier, it's a couple grams. Like, they are killing people over a couple grams of weed. In some of these states, weed is legal, but they're killing people over it. And to be specific, they are killing Black people. They're killing marginalized people. And so, Chanel, if you could speak a little bit about, you know, what do we lose by keeping no-knock warrants on the books?
I think when we talk about no-knock warrants, we do need to express, like, who is giving the no-knock warrants. We always say police, or in a few times, especially for rural folks, we're saying the sheriff and law enforcement. But for inner city folks, we know that this is the war on Black people. One of the 6 major demands of the movement for Black lives, always called the Black Lives Matter movement. When we're saying in the war on Black people, we are talking about the drug war that was presented to inner city Black folks. This is just one of their tactics. There are many different types of street teams. Inquire how many street teams are at your local police station. And then also with the entire police force. Does your city have many police force? Because I will assert you, there are different types of task force, which is the task force that we saw that went after Breonna Taylor. It was most likely a task force that went after to compile the information for Diamonds Ford. And in most of these cases, they are just task force. These task force aren't under any special operating procedures that they already have to operate under, right? Underneath standard operating procedures is what is detailed as the objective for their job. Well, these street force always, and I've never seen where an incident is taking place and the street force has actually done within the standard operating procedure. So they have broken the law and the rules each and every time. And I think this is the major argument that a lot of people are making when they hit these streets is the police do the most violence when they are looking for so-called violent folks. And then also, selling, doing drugs, whatever, is a nonviolent crime. Why are we using the most force against people around having drugs or this drug war? When we look at Breonna Taylor's case, we see it also attributed to a very high number of I said high number, but they always try to make sure that there's like some type of trap house involved, or they make sure that some blighted neighborhood is taking place. Breonna Taylor's situation is linked to a development that is taking place in a historic neighborhood called Russell. As a Louisville resident, and Chantresa know this, when we was younger, we nobody calling it Russell, and they probably called it Russell back in the day, but we just didn't call it that. There were several government-funded housing projects that were there, and people just called stuff by their street names or whatever else. We never called it Russell. As soon as they start targeting it for downtown Louisville expansion, something historically done in that area, an entire Black business center was erased in the 30s, so to amend for whatever monies they lost due to the Great Depression. These people began to go in on Russell, and that just means gentrification tactics. You're looking at racial banishment. Beecher Terrace was a public housing place where they have taken people away almost threefold, either to prison or by death, and making sure that those folks who barely had a place to live, food, were able to do that. One of the first food apartheids, they took away grocery stores. They even took away medical places. So while they sit right across the threshold for downtown and all those resources, the first industry you meet is law enforcement, where the courts sit at, where the jails sit at, where the headquarters of the police station sit at. We're also looking at a very high number of murders and a very low income. It has one of the lowest income in the nation. So that zip code 4203 made one of the poorest places in the nation several times over. What I'm getting to is that because of all those tactics, then you have blight, you have trap houses. Okay, makes sense. These are the things that you need to do, right? The police then created, along with the city, and I'm not talking about your city representatives, your council people, along with the city, so the mayor, which is why the mayor is our target, creating a task force. So another task force to go onto the street. So you have Mobile Unit 9, which used to be the Viper Squad. And this is a group of rogue folks that used to go and do whatever they wanted to do, dress however they want to, regular looking narcs. They would do a lot of your jump outs, a lot of your kidnappings, a lot of your street detentions. And now we have like this other new street force who is able to go and do whatever they want to. Whatever they want to. And we don't have a standard operating procedure that's going to specifically detail why they are even there to do their job. And if you ask like your leaders in the police force, there's just a lot of this going on and there's a lot of that going on. Y'all the ones that have all the tools and all the money. Louisville Police Force brings in $196 million after the budget this year. Chanez brilliantly made a spread for us on like what we could pay for with $100 million just out of that. Everyone's public safety budget is more than 50% of the actual budget. And then in the public safety category itself, police forces make over 90% of that budget. If we are talking about being safer, then we have got to be able to know what that means. And I don't think that our cities are even talking about what being safe means, because what we love to do is put all that money and all those resources into militarized police hands, and they are all over our cities. They are trapping residents in their communities, and they are giving some residents the only option that they have towards safety, and it's not even safe. You are on mute.
See, the white man trying to silence me. So I want to say that there have been a bunch of legal precedents, right? We talked to Danny earlier about how on the books in Florida, supposedly they ban no-knocks, but this has been the case for a grip, right? But in reality, Black women are still not protected, even when we do all the right things. So I'm going to leave the calls to action up here, but I want to say this. It's really important to understand that police were the original slave catchers. I know I say that on like every webinar I'm on, but we have to keep uplifting that. In Louisville, the mayor allowed a program where police were raping children to continue, right? And they used more violence with diamonds than they did with these police who were raping children, drugging children, getting children drunk, right? Some of these children have died. Right? There are racists and rapists all through LMPD. I'm sure that's the case there in Florida with the police there. And there are mayors who not only allow that to continue, but celebrate the fact that we have a police force, the kind of police force that we do. So we can't just hold the officers accountable. It's also about the judges that sign these warrants, like Mary Shaw. It's also about the people like Mayor Greg Fisher in Louisville, who continue to incentivize the killing of Black people. It's also about the folks who are willing to turn a blind eye. So we have a lot more work to do. I'm very glad that Diamonds is home. And I'm hoping that people use this as an opportunity to amplify the diamonds in your community. For us, that's Kenneth Walker, some other people too, but right, Kenneth Walker Jr. was arrested immediately, even though all he did was shoot out. And I don't even think they proved that the bullet he shot actually went into the officer, because again, the officers were shooting blindly into Breonna Taylor's home, right? And so I'm gonna read off the calls to action, and then I wanna kick it to you all for some kind of closing statements on what we can do moving forward. So first, of course, sign the petition. We have bit.ly links, bit.ly/diamonds/petition. And make sure y'all spell her name correctly. Diamonds, Diamonds. Don't forget the S. please, okay? If you need to remember, S for save diamonds, all right? You can also contact the organizing group there, justicefordiamondsforward@gmail.com. And please, please, please email and tweet at the State Attorney Melissa Nelson. Her email is mwnelson@coj.net, and demand that all the charges be dropped. This woman was just defending herself, protecting her home, which she has every right to do, not just in the state of Florida, but period. She should be able to protect herself in her home. And so I really want to encourage people to do that. We'll leave that up for a little bit. And I want to come back to Danny. You have done so much, and I'm just appreciative to be in this organizing space with you. Can you let us know? Actually, pause. We have some updates from the attorney, so I'm going to read those off as well. We have a few updates as of yesterday, and then I'll kick it to Danny. There was a motion to modify the bond conditions and allow contact with her boyfriend. The state also provided discovery, although there's still some stuff we're missing due to what they call informant safety. I think they're digging more into that to figure out what that exactly means. And some of these are stalling tactics, we know. And then finally, his bond reduction hearing is supposed to be February 22nd at 2:30. We don't yet have the Zoom information. I doubt they will make it public, but we'll continue to keep y'all updated on the BLM Louisville social media pages. So yeah, please keep Diamonds in your prayers and continue to get that petition out and to support her. Danny?
Yes. And I would just say, in regards to getting on Zoom, if we do get that information, we probably won't announce it until right before, so they don't try to change it up on us, because I'm sure they're monitoring everything we're doing now. I'm going to just leave that there. But yeah, we want to continue to support all this stuff. And I'm gonna get all emotional, but I feel the same way about you all, Chanel and Chanez, of like allowing me into this organizing space and be able to be in this organizing space, the sisterhood together, doing this abolition work, because it is really hard work. I think people constantly want to support. I say yes, continue to share, continue to be part of this. Also, I just have to uplift this. I think it's awesome that BLM Louisville has a whole thing about take care of your organizers. Please take care of your abolitionist organizers. I will even just say for myself, I've been going so hard, and I've been unemployed since November, period. But because this is the work that I live and I breathe, it's nothing to me to do this. But yeah, man, take care of your organizers. If you care about this, yes, send that email, but then dive in, see what work is happening in your community, what you can do. I constantly say this, it doesn't matter where you are in your community. There's a Diamonds, there's a Kenneth Walker, there's somebody's name in your community that's been affected. All of our communities are affected by over-policing, by mass incarceration. Figure out what's going on, who's doing the organizing, and support that, because we do need to put an end to money bail. We need to put an end to no-knock warrants. We need to, and it's going to take a mass movement. We have these bad organizers, and we're putting our bodies on the line. We're sacrificing time with our family, sacrificing, our personal time to do this work, but we need your help to keep this work moving. So that's kind of just what I had to say. Take care of your people, figure out what's going on in your community, and dive in whatever you can, whether that's volunteering your time or giving a little bit of money. So
thank you, Danny. And I want to go to Chanel, who I love organizing with. Can you tell us what are some sort of next steps, and what can folks do who are watching this and maybe just now checking into the movement? I know we've been doing this work for a minute, but what's some things people kind of new to this space can jump in on?
I'm also thankful that Monica had time to watch this live, because she's doing a great deal of that. She is just finding that information, and she is sharing that with folks. So I noticed in the chat, she is sharing what is abolition. And I know that we've been having to lift that up in this last moment. I also want to say, one, it's annoying, but two, I am glad that people are actually making a notion around that and what that looks like. I also want folks to examine what anti-fascism actually means too. So we've heard that a lot too. It seems to be a bit lost on people, but this is anti-fascist work. We are Antifas. We are making sure that fascism at all costs, the benefit of a monetary value or capitalism of our bodies and our labor, isn't something that we're getting ready to let the government or the criminal justice system get away with, right? So those are some of the main things that we're looking at. I always tell people to start out with the pedagogy of the oppressed. Take your time, but you have been naming things in your life that have been happening to you. And I'm talking to my Black and brown folks, either in other POC, and you're naming those things. Read Pedagogy of the Oppressed. We are not the first ones to get here. We did not get here on accident. And they have detailed for us what is coming up. Paulo Freire is the father of like naming what the process is of being an oppressed person, right? And then if we're talking about like how do you get started and how do you do this work, I'm really looking to Adrienne Marie Brown, really colorful Afrofuturist, but she wrote a book, Emergent Strategy, so that we can like intertwine the ways that we organize. There are some very simple ways to organize, but there are some very methodical ways that we organize, and we believe in the strategy, and that strategy is around us. And so Emergent Strategy is a very deep dive into like what a lot of these things mean. Some of these things have already been sitting with you, and maybe you want to take it a step further. And maybe, like a lot of people say, I just don't have time. And that is fine, because time is never on our side, right? There are all different types of things that you can do. You can, and I do this a lot, sit on the toilet and tweet out to the targets. You can also troll their pages, stop arguing with the real trolls, but actually hit, the mayors and the state attorneys and those folks. And then if you really want to make a difference in these folks' lives, send a letter, send an email out to the organizers, thank them for what they are doing. Trust me, a lot of us are doing work that we will never see compensation for, and that is our duty. And so we want folks to know that like it's not going to bother us a bit, but we do hear y'all and thank you. But make sure you're supporting your organizers, but make sure you're supporting these community members who have had their lives taken advantage of, right? Send a letter out to the email for the organizers to send to Diamonds. Diamond really does love that. There's a few other emails that and videos that we have of Diamonds. She's so precious. The same thing for the family of Breonna Taylor. The same thing for all these other families that are amplified and those that aren't. Make sure that we're thinking about them when we're fighting state oppression. They have lost something very historic. This is something that is historic for us, and we want to break this lineage of history in our lives.
Yeah, and I'll say, again, I'm putting up the State Attorney Melissa Nelson's Twitter again. Please tweet out to her. It's at SAO4 Florida. Her email and number are also up there. I know we have them in the chat. If you're watching this on like a replay, you're not watching it live, you can go back through the slides. And then I also put up Representative Osborne, who is one of the people who gets to decide about whether Breonna's Law gets assigned to a committee. So I'm gonna put his information up there again. Please tweet at Representative Osborne. It's at Rep Osborne, at Rep Osborne Lewinsers. I guess it's supposed to be like a take on influencers. I don't know, but y'all see it up there. Again, like Chanel said, calling, emailing, writing handwritten letters are always a really good way to get their attention. And yeah, we're coming to the close of our program. I'm really thankful, Danny and Chanel, for y'all being on here and sharing your perspective, but also amplifying Diamond's situation. I'm going to put the call to action up here and we'll close out with her video. And yeah, I appreciate y'all. Again, there's always room to jump in. We hope that y'all don't just watch this webinar and feel like you've done anti-racist work. This is like a prequel to you doing work. So please jump in. I'm going to shout out again, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire, because as Chanel said, that is a dope starting point. And we just have so much work to do. So yeah, Chanel, I think you have to share her video for me to read.
Again. Okay, and then after that, I got the other call to actions and stuff on loop, and I'll loop them twice.
Wonderful.
Hello everyone, as you know, my name is Diamonds Ford. I wanted to take the time out to thank these beautiful, powerful ladies: Dignity Power, Danielle, Trey, Tisha, Foxy, Miss Nubian. I love these ladies to death. They took the time out to believe in me. They took the time out to show me love and support in a horrible situation. I'm very highly thankful and blessed that God has put them in my path. They have raised this money to bring me home to my daughter, and I appreciate them so much. I just don't feel like thank you is enough, but ladies, I thank you very much for the time and the consideration that you guys have put into my situation. The fight is not over, and I pray that these ladies stand with me through this fight. I love them like they were my own sisters at this point. They are considered as family. I hate that I seen a post that stated that strangers just came up and just decided to buy me out. No, these aren't strangers. These are family. And what we have is a bond. But I want to thank them. I appreciate them. Thank you. I just does not feel like enough for me. I'm not going to cry. We're not going to do this today. I'm going to be joyful and rejoice in this moment. Ladies, I thank you. We appreciate you so much. And I cannot wait to see you guys again.
All right. Whew. Every time I'm like, she's such a sweet person and such a it just gives me tingles thinking about I'm so grateful that she survived that and that we still have her to create what we imagine as an anti-racist world, as just where people could just live and be. So yeah, Chanel has a loop for us. I want to thank y'all again for tuning in. I want to thank Chanel and Danny for being on the program, everyone in the comments, Robin, Monica, I can't remember who else, but appreciate y'all. And we're going to end off with this loop for the call to action.